So when and how did you first fall in love with writing?
It was actually, I had always loved reading and I'd always loved, writing as a little kid, but I had never considered it a possible vocation or something to be taken seriously until we had a party and there was this lovely, clumsy woman named Sherry Benning, and she ended up breaking one of our wine glasses. And she came back the next day and said, "I'm so sorry I broke your wine glass. Here's my book," in exchange. And it was just this beautiful book of poetry. And it was the first time that I thought, she's young and she's clumsy and kind of goofy and funny. And that's not what I thought writers were like. So maybe I could try this too. So I just kind of started pursuing it then, and I would ask Sherry for advice, and it became a lifelong passion.
Grappling Hook is a love letter to people who are trying to make meaningful change in unprecedented times. So tell us a little bit about what strikes you as a meaningful change and what inspired you to write this book.
I think we all try to make meaningful change in different ways. I balance my life between, trying to be active in the world, in social justice, in trying to make change that way. And my eldest is actually 17 now, and she is huge in the anarchist community. She's always out there helping the homeless and going to demonstrations, and she's a committed communist, and she's just so socially engaged. And I find it really inspiring because I think that both the small things that we do and the large things that we do all have effects. And in my poetry, and I do think that poetry can make change, I try to express that struggle and that journey with both kind of the larger world and with the more intimate personal world.
And you bring mindfulness and mindful experience to your writing for adults and also your children's writing. So what's the difference in your process? Is there a difference? Do you think in a different way, research in a different way?
Yeah, I think that some things just call out for children's stories. So sometimes it'll actually be a line in a poem that I'm writing that I think, oh, that would be really good for a children's story. I think in poetry, usually what I'm trying to do is really infuse ambivalence into my work. So wherever I'm not sure of the answer, that's where I want to write about. Whereas with children's writing, so much of it is trying to see through the eyes of a child again with that same sense of discovery and wonder and openness. So that's what I try to do with my children's stories. So they're kind of trying to hit different things. And it's funny with kids, with poetry, I feel like you can usually edit a poem to the point where it's good. With children's stories, I feel like they tend to either be good or not. Like I'll write 30 of them, and then there's the 2 that are really good, and the other ones just there's no help for them, and I don't really know why. Maybe other people have a different process. They both tend to be very visual genres that use compression and density of language. But I think because children's literature has to be maybe a little bit more direct, it does tend to be a bit more hit and miss. But it's reading for kids is one of the best things in the entire world. I love reading poetry, but everybody tends to have a really intense poetry listening phase, which I never know if they're actually enjoying it or not. Whereas if you're reading for kids, you can tell if they're enjoying it or not because they'll tell you. They'll be like, "I don't like that story." And they'll be like, "This is the best story ever." And kindergartners especially, they always like come up really close and they touch you as you're reading, and it's